Okay, so what I'm going to do today is to show you how to blend a horse or basically any image that you've cut out into another background image. The first thing you're going to want to keep in mind is that you're going to want high quality images. For instance, something that's not grainy looking because it'll make cutting it out harder, and it will also make blending it in harder. So you're going to select your Photoshop. Mine's already open, and I'm going to go to, this is the image I'm using. Obviously this is from equinestockimagery.deviantart.com, and the other image is from Colorize Stock at deviantart.com. And I have already cut the horse out to save time, so I'm just going to go to Layer, New Layer. This is the background image. And I'm going to paste the horse into that layer. Now, what I'm going to do is first select the horse and drag him over to the corner so it looks like he's not just sitting in midair. And when you're cutting out an image, one of the tricks is to zoom very close to the image so that everything's bigger, and you can use a lot of connecting points that way. Use your polygonal lasso tool, that'll help a lot. And try to stay to just a little bit to the inside of where the image actually ends. In this case, I haven't cut out all the fibers of the mane because I'm not going to bother doing that, and if you watch my mane tutorial, you should be able to make that mane come right back anyway. So I'm going to go up to View Actual Pixels, and I'm going to first take and select the horse. And I'm going to start by just trying out, it doesn't look too bad right now because of the image I've used. They're very similar in color. And I'm going to start out just by seeing what happens if I go to Layer, Matting, and remove Black Matte. As you can see, it's made a little bit of a white border around there, so I don't like that, so I'm going to Command Z to undo that. So now I'm going to go up and to Layer, and I'm going to try Remove White Matte and see what that does. And that doesn't really seem to do much of anything either beyond add a little bit more black, which I really don't like, so I'm going to undo that as well. The next thing you can try to do is to double click in your layer panel on the layer you're working with. You can try adding a drop shadow, you can try adding an outer glow, depending on what you're looking for in the image. You can also look for stroke, which I usually don't use. But I'm going to start out with a drop shadow. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to leave the opacity where it is. I'm going to change this contour to this one, which is what I usually use. You're going to anti-alias it, and you're also going to change the distance to 0 so it's more directly behind the image. And put that up a little bit. And I'm not going to do anything with an inner shadow. You can if you want. Sometimes that'll make it look a little bit different. And really, my image looks pretty good right from the start. So with your image, you may just, it's kind of a trial and error type thing. I'm just giving you suggestions. So I don't like the inner shadow, so I'm just going to leave that. But what I might do is click on here and find the eyedropper and drag it over until I find, see that sort of lighter color that's in the background, and try that. And actually now I am going to try an inner shadow, and I'm going to try to match that color, that brownish color of the background. Sometimes that'll kind of tint the very edges of your image so that it matches. And what you can also do, actually I don't know if you can do this in Photoshop, you could do it in another program I've worked with called Photo Impact. You used to be able to split the shadow from the layer, and then you could do different shadows. So for instance, you could have a black shadow behind this area depending on what you erased and what you didn't, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. The next thing you can do to kind of blend in your image is go to zoom in a little bit, and you can sometimes take your eraser tool and just, well, obviously I'm going to shrink mine because mine is huge right now. Sometimes you can just go and erase the very, very edges of the image where it's lighter colors. If you're working on a dark background, obviously you're going to want darker colors. Now you don't want to erase too much because obviously look what happens. It's not something that needs to be done with all images. If you zoom in a lot, sometimes it can, it helps because you can see more of it. Like for instance, right here's a little bit light. I don't really like that, so I'm going to try to get rid of that. That I did too much, so I'm just going to kind of click real slightly and try to get rid of a few of those lighter colored pixels. And then go back to actual pixel view. And again, this is just a trial and error thing. You need to play around with it. I'm just giving you suggestions of how to do it. Make sure you're using high quality images and you're not using backgrounds that are completely different if you want it to look good. You can also try sometimes if you flatten the image and then duplicate it and then select the background image, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. I'm not really sure how you actually say that. I've never been clear on that. And just change these sorts of effects. It may not be exactly what you're looking for, but you really just have to play around. It depends on the images. It's very hard to actually show a tutorial on this, but I'm giving you suggestions. So, as of right now, I'm going to leave it how it was. I think it looks fairly good. Up here you might want to actually take the blur tool to that, which you can get here. And you can always blur the edges to kind of blend things in better. Again, if you smudge out that mane, that'll help. You smudge out the forelock, that'll help. It's just it's a trial and error type thing. But I hope this has given you some tips, and I'll hope to see some of your work in the future.